It was 2022 and I hadn't backpacked in years. In fact, even my fishing and hiking passions had taken a back burner to things that we call life. Anyways, those things in life which limit or prevent us from continuing to do certain activities or hobbies. However, sometimes circumstances in life open the door or reopen the door for us to explore some of these old passions. Sometimes enjoying these age-old passions is called a midlife crisis, but partaking in them can be exhilarating, therapeutic, and sometimes disturbing. At least I find it so. I have found that when I have returned to hiking into the backcountry woods and mountains, that I really see how insignificant I am. Imagine standing on the edge of a mountain plateau. This precipice overlooks a pine tree-filled valley connected to another valley just as prodigious and prolifically pine tree-filled. The horizon is dotted by numerous peaks, many unnamed and untouched by man, which lose their grandeur in the distance. The clouds above are almost within my grasp. Strangely, even the ones below me are still out of reach. At first glance, it almost seems endless. But as I began to put miles on my boots, this vast wilderness began to get smaller, until someone said to me, "Why don't you try it in winter?" My thoughts went instantly to the cold mountain images of ice cliff climbers and Mount Everest taking fingers via frostbite. However, the question continued to nag me, why not in winter? And so I began to do my research. What I found is this is a legitimate activity that people have done safely for years. The only difference between them and me is two things I see. One, I am a complete novice about winter backpacking. And two, I know no one that would go with me, so I will be going solo. This now brings me to my story and my adventure in winter backpacking. It is 2023, and it is the time when most people make New Year's resolutions. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I make goals, and the goals that I make do not necessarily revolve around the new year. Some of them might. If I get a notion of something I want to do, I just go ahead and make the goal right then. I don't wait for the new year. I don't wait for Monday. I don't wait for any specific date, my birthday or anything like that. I just go ahead and set the goal. I write it down with a list of my other goals. And sometimes they do happen to coincide with the new year. For instance, I have some hiking goals, which I have planned for the year 2023. And that just so happens to coincide with the new year, but that's not because of a New Year's resolution. My 5 hiking goals that I have planned include, first of all, to hike a couple areas that I have already done. One being my favorite lake, and the second being Mount Whitney. My second hiking goal is to explore more deeply the area around my secret lake. My third hiking goal is to explore a couple new areas. And this, I mean exploring a couple areas off trail. My fourth hiking goal is to visit a few sites that are prominent to me. There's a couple lakes that I want to, actually 5 lakes I want to visit along the Lake Fork Trail, as well as there's like 5 peaks that I want to climb. At least 3 of them I can do. The other 2 are questionable, but I'm going to at least get close enough to see if it's possible. And my 5th hiking goal is to practice some newly acquired skills. This would be my winter hiking trip, which I have never done hiking in winter, but that does not mean I haven't hiked when it's been cold or when there's been snow, or even snowing. It's just I've never done it in the winter. Now it is this last goal, hiking in the winter, that I hope to tackle first. I've been doing my research and I believe I have acquired the necessary knowledge to accomplish this task. At first, I planned to do just an overnight trip, and this overnight trip would test out my knowledge and equipment to see if it would be working for possibly a further trip into the forest, maybe a 2 or 3 or 4 day trip. Now this overnight trip is just to test out the equipment and my knowledge. It is not to push the limits. So when I go out hiking, I'm going to be picking a location that I have done, that I'm very familiar with. Also, I will not be hiking very far into the forest. I will keep myself relatively close to the vehicle, no more than probably 3 or 4 miles in, so that I can easily get back to the vehicle if things turn south or cold, as it may be. The 4 things that I need to test include, first of all, my stove. The second is my water storage system. The third would be my sleeping system. The last thing I want to test is the clothing that I've brought.
This time I want to make a quick note about equipment. There are many reasons to bring different equipment, but I did see a good general list that was online. If I could remember where I saw it posted, I would give the website some kudos. But this list was classified as the Winter 15 items. Number 1 is fire starting, matches or lighters or flint. Number 2 is your cooking system. This would include a stove, fuel, and a pot with a lid. Number 3 is your water storage system. I know some people would like to bring the bladder or a filter to have their water, but both of these are problematic because of freezing in winter. Number 4, your food. Now, always bring a little bit more than you expect to use because it is going to be colder and you will require more energy than you think. Number 5 is a repair kit. So you can repair any equipment that breaks, whether it's your tent or backpack. However, I usually don't bring these kind of things, but I do see a value in bringing equipment that might maintain your stove. Now, that is a definite problem you would not want to have if your stove fails while you're out in the woods and it's freezing. Number 6 is first aid. This would include band-aids, tape, gauze, burn cream. Number 7 is insulating layers. Always bring extra layers so that you can add them on if you are cold. Number 8 would be an illumination device, like a headlamp and the extra batteries that may be required. Number 9 would include UV protection, both sunscreen and sunglasses. It is amazing how much sun gets reflected off of the snow. Number 10 is wind protection, both a jacket and pants. Number 11 is a shelter. Usually it is recommended a 4-season tent, but a 3-season tent will work if it's able to withstand the winds. The only problem with the 3-season tent is it has netting, which if the wind is blowing and the snow is blowing into the tent through the netting, you'll get snow accumulation inside your tent. Number 12 is your sleeping system. A sleeping pad with an R4 rating is recommended. A sleeping bag, as well as the hot water bottle I explained. 13 is your navigation, whether it's a compass, GPS, map, etc. Number 14 is traction and flotation in snow. So this could include micro spikes, crampons, also things like track poles and ice axe. And lastly, number 15 is avalanche gear, which would include beacon and any probing tools. With these things in mind, I want to show you what I actually bring. Some of the things will be left out for a variety of reasons, but you will actually see a correlation from the things that I've listed to the things that I have brought.
These are the items that most people recommend when going winter hiking. There are a few items here that I have added. I am actually not going to be taking all of this, and I will explain those later, but I'm going to go through these real quickly. First of all, I am bringing a sleeping pad. I don't normally bring a sleeping pad on my hikes, and winter is a different story because there will be snow on the ground and I need some insulation between myself and the ground. I have some straps to attach some of my equipment like my sleeping bag and pad and tent. This is my tent. It is not a 4-season tent. Unfortunately, it's a 4-person tent and it's the only one I have. It's kind of heavy, but it is the only one I have, so I'm going to bring it. My sleeping bag, it's a 5-degree Fahrenheit sleeping bag. We'll see how that works. I have a couple walking sticks. One of them has a tool on the top which I can attach to my phone to it. I've got a snow shovel here, which I may or may not bring. I have some snowshoes there. I also have my backpack. It's usually my 2-3 day backpack, and I'll be bringing that for the overnight trip. In terms of my cooking and food, I have some freeze-dried food and some snacks, some toiletries, my fuel bottle for my white gas, as well as my Coleman dual fuel stove and its filter. For cooking, I'm just going to bring my percolator and leave the percolator at home. I'm just going to use it to boil water in. I'll bring a cup for drinking, a spoon for eating, and a Swiss Army knife for utility in case I need it. In terms of water storage, I am bringing 3 bottles. This tall one here is a thermo flask, which I can pour hot water into it and keep it in there under cold conditions, and it'll not freeze. I actually pour from this bottle into this small 14-ounce Nalgene. This is my drinking bottle, so I drink from this, store it in the thermo flask, and drink from here. This 32-ounce Nalgene I use for keeping warm at night, or I guess it can also be used for first aid for hypothermia, but basically you boil water, put it in here, and you put it in your sleeping bag to keep warm. In terms of some other things that I might bring, I have bear spray, my 45, FM 45. I have extra batteries, my head lamp, my snow goggles, as well as sunglasses, some electric equipment, my backup battery backup, as well as my microphone. I have a pouch for my phone so it keeps it dry. I don't think I'll need that one actually for this trip. I have a carabiner to attach a couple things to my pack. One is the water bottle. I have a GPS, first aid, compass, map, and paracord here. And in terms of my clothing, my jackets, I have a fleece as well as my down jacket. I have a windbreaker. For my top, I have a wool shirt, a base layer, and a t-shirt. For my legs, I have snow pants, jeans, and another base layer for my legs. For my head, I have 2 wool caps, beanies, as well as a balaclava. For my hands, I have 2 pairs of gloves, one with no fingers, the other with fingers. Just gonna use those together in conjunction. And I have some mittens, some army mittens for if it's really cold. For my feet, I'm gonna bring wool socks and just a regular pair of socks. I will have these leg gaiters, some micro spikes and crampons, as well as my heavy duty boots. Since this is just an overnight and I'm not going to be very far from my car, there are a few things I'm going to opt out of bringing. I won't be bringing the paracord, and I won't be bringing the compass because I'm going in a familiar area. I won't need the map for the same reason. I won't need the first aid kit. I'll leave that in the car. I won't be really far. What I have will suffice for first aid usage. I won't be bringing my snow goggles, and I probably won't be bringing my bear spray, but I will bring my 45 with me. I probably won't bring the snow shovel this time. or the snowshoes. I've removed some of the items from this video so that you can see what I'm actually going to be bringing.
Now this summary is strictly just a summary. It is not a hard and fast rule, and I have not included all the details about it. You will have to do your own research to come up with your own list and complete it as according to what you feel is necessary.
It is Monday night and I am parked for the night. As I was pulling up, it was really cool to see the ice crystals sparkling on all the plants. It was kind of like the Christmas lights. I am not where I wanted to be, but that is impossible because the gate is locked. I actually ended up parking at Wild Bill Lake, which is about 1.5 miles from Basin Campground. That is my original parking spot for the night. I'll have to do that 1.5 miles in addition to the mile to my campsite, my preferred campsite, but I am going to be spending the night here. After I parked, I took a look at the gauge and it was 9 degrees outside. I can already feel that it's getting cold in here in the van. So I better get going and prepare my bed so that I can have a good night's sleep and stay warm. So what I'm doing is I am heating up some water. I'm going to put some in a bottle and keep it in my sleeping bag, and the other I'm going to drink. I'm going to drink some hot cocoa. The stove is cooking pretty good right now, and see if it's almost boiling. Oh, it's getting pretty hot. Make a couple cups of hot cocoa before I sleep. Warm me up. And also pour it in a 32-ounce Nalgene bottle to help keep me warm. Here's some Ghirardelli hot cocoa, double chocolate. Put it into my cup here. And I think my water's almost ready. It's kind of cold tonight. I can hear it kind of bubbling now. It's pretty much hot enough to make my hot cocoa. Pour that in there. That looks good. Delicious. Try some of this out. Oh, fantastic. Really nice on a cold morning. Well, or cold evening, if that may be. Don't think I'm going to be able to film this, but I'm going to pour it into my 32-ounce Nalgene bottle. I can already see that some of the water in here is frozen. I don't know if you can see that right there. That's a good view of it. Freezes and you're in trouble inside your bottle. I poured some of the warm water that I had in here already from my thermo flask into my drinking bottle. This I'm going to keep in my sleeping bag. And this one I'm going to fill with the rest of the boiling water, and it'll be fine out in the cold. And it's not time for night. I'm going to close everything up and take a snooze. So I'll see you in the morning for the start of the hike, which is in part 2.